Hi class, in this video I'm going to be talking about rational number operations and I'm going to focus mainly on fractions. In this case, in my first example, I got negative 1 over 5 plus 3 over 4. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this negative to the numerator. So when you see a negative just on the outside here, you can just apply it to the numerator. So this would just be negative 1 over 5 plus 3 over 4. Now, in order to add these together, I'm going to need a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply 5 by 4. And what I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. And now for the 4 on the bottom here, I'm going to multiply it by 5. And what I do to the bottom, I also have to do to the top. So 4 times negative 1 is going to be negative 4. 5 times 4 is 20. So I got negative 4 over 20. Now 3 times 5 is 15. And 4 times 5 is 20. So I have negative 4 over 20 plus 15 over 20. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, because I have a common denominator now, I can keep the bottom number the same and just add the top numbers. In the top numbers, I have negative 4 plus 15. Now, if you recall from integer operations, negative 4 plus 15 would just be positive 11. So my final answer is just 11 on the top, and the bottom stays the same, so I have 11 over 20. Okay, now for B, I have 2 and 5/6 minus 5 and 2/3. To actually compute this one, I rather compute it as an improper fraction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the denominator, multiply it by the whole number, then add it to the numerator here. That changes this to an improper fraction. So in this case, 6 times 2 plus 5, that's my new numerator for my improper fraction. And the denominator stays the same. It's just going to be 6 because it's 6 here. I'm going to do the same thing to this mixed number here. I'm going to multiply the denominator by the whole number and then add that result to the numerator. So in this case, I have 3 times 5 plus 2 divided by the 3, which is my denominator, which stays the same. So upon doing so, 6 times 2 is 12 plus 5, that's 17. So this is 17 over 6 minus 3 times 5 is 15 plus 2, that's also 17. 17 over 3. Okay, great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract these numbers, but I first need to find a common denominator. So I'm going to multiply this 3 here by 2 because I noticed 3 times 2 is 6. That lets it become common. But what I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. Okay, so now I'm going to have 17 over 6 minus 17 times 2 is 34 minus 34 over 6. So because my denominator is the same, I can keep it the same. I just have 6 on the bottom. Now on the top, I'm going to have 17 minus 34. Now, if you recall, I'm subtracting a smaller number to a bigger number, so I have to apply keep, change. So in this case, I would keep the first number the same, change the minus sign to a plus, and change positive 34 to its opposite. So that's negative 34. That's still over 6. In this case, when I compute this on the top, I should be left with negative 17 over 6. So that's my final answer. There is another way to do this. So either you keep it as an improper fraction or you can change it back to a mixed number. If you change it to a mixed number, it would just be negative 2, and then you would have 5, 6. So negative 2 and 5/6 or negative 17 over 6. Now for C, I have negative 4 and 3/7 times negative 1 and 1/2. You cannot multiply mixed numbers together. You actually have to multiply them as improper. So you're forced to change these into improper fractions. So I'm going to multiply. Then I'm going to add. One thing I want to note is when I change these mixed numbers into an improper fraction, you want to ignore the negatives first and just compute as is. So 7 times 4 is going to be 28. then 28 plus 3 will be 31. So that's 31 over 7. Now I'm going to have here 2 times 1, which is 2, and then plus 1, that's going to be 3. So this would be 3 over 2. After you change them to an improper fraction, you can now apply the negatives again. So there is a negative here, so there will be a negative here. There is a negative here, so you can apply the negative to the numerators up here and here. So now you have negative 31 over 7 times negative 3 over 2. Recall for multiplying, you just multiply the numerator by the numerator and the denominator by the denominator. So I'm going to have negative 31 times negative 3 on the top. On the bottom, I'm just going to have 7 times 2. Now, 7 times 2 is 14. If you recall, a negative times a negative is just going to be a positive, so you just have to compute 31 times 3 in this case, which would be 93. So in this case, I have 93 over 14, but if you would like to change this to a mixed number again, you can also say this is going to be 6 and 9/14. Okay, now let's move on to our last example here. Here I have negative 1/3 divided by 3 over 4. So in this case, I can apply this negative to the numerator here and just make it negative 1 over 3 divided by 3 over 4. Now when we divide, we apply a technique known as KCF. It stands for keep, change, flip. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my first number the same. Then I'm going to change this division sign to a multiplication sign. And finally, my last step is just to flip the second number I'm dividing by. So instead of 3 over 4, it will be now 4 over 3. Now I just apply my multiplication. So I multiply the top number by the top number. So negative 1 times 4. And multiply the bottom number by the bottom number. And I have 3 times 3 here. A negative times a positive will just be a negative still. So negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. 3 times 3 is going to be 9. So my final answer is negative 4 over 9.